All right, so first off, I have to tell you that you are a total badass. So you graduated high school, correct me if I'm wrong, at 14, college at 17,
Yes.
and you thought you were going to pursue a career in economics and or finance, and cut to today, you are literally one of the most internationally beloved actresses like ever. So how did this all happen for you?
You know, I always say that I kind of fell into it backwards. I wanted to go into developmental economics originally, and I thought I was the black sheep of my family then, because everyone in my family is in science and medicine. But then I'd been dancing ballet my whole life, and I was the kid who would try anything. And I had a friend who was directing a community theater show and needed a dancer. And so I said, well, sure, I'll spend the summer trying something new and seeing how that goes. And I fell in love with it. And I had one of those rare moments of clarity the moment I stepped on stage and I went, oh, no, no, I have to tell stories for the rest of my life. And here I am.
Wow. And I love that because you were open and you took a chance that summer and said, yeah, I'll do it. Why not? It led you to finding what you love. I mean, that's so cool.
Well, thank you. It's, you know, that's kind of been the whole course of my career and my life has kind of been going, well, this opportunity has arisen, and if I don't give it a chance, I'll never know.
I mean, that's a lesson that everyone tuning in has to remember. You have to take a chance. I love that so much. And you have gained, I see a lot of your Shadowhunters fans here today. I see the hashtag Shadow fan popping up.
Yeah.
And you gained a massive, massive following through this show, through playing Clary. So how did the opportunity to join the show come up for you? And what was that audition process like?
It was a very long audition process, but rightly so, because the heart of the story of the Mortal Instruments is in the characters. And, you know, I give Freeform so much credit because they took a lot of time trying to cast it correctly. And, you know, I can, being a fan of the books myself, I can speak to the rest of the cast and say that it was cast so well, and everybody really brought their heart and soul to every character. But when I first read the script for the pilot, it was really interesting because I'd never connected to a character that much before. I immediately knew what I wanted to do with her, and I kind of saw her journey, and I saw the potential in it, and immediately just fell in love with the world. So was so happy to have had it all come to fruition in the end.
And you did such an amazing job playing a character that maybe presumably had a fan base, right, from the books, but you stepped in and you made her your own. Were you nervous? Were you like, oh my God, this is a huge undertaking? What was playing that role like?
100%. Yeah, you know, I grew up reading YA books, and I'm a huge fan of the genre, so I understand the attachment that people have to these characters and how much they mean to people. And so I didn't take that responsibility lightly in any sense. But, you know, I read the whole series and really took care to kind of see why people attach to Clary, and also to respect the changes that we made in order to make it into a series, which sort of allowed all of us creative freedom. But I'm so grateful to the Shadow fam because they took those changes in stride and they welcomed each and every one of us with open arms, and it's just been the most positive experience, and I've fallen in love with the community, so I'm here.
Oh, I love that. And what was it like playing this character? She's such a great role.
It was amazing. I feel as though my journey as a human being sort of paralleled her journey in the show. I was 19 when I was cast as Clary, and, you know, Clary's a young girl who's thrown into a brand new world, having to form a family and sort of trial by fire figure out how to be a leader in that sense. And I felt very similarly. You know, I was the youngest person on the main cast, carrying the show, doing all of this, and forming a family. And I was so lucky to be surrounded by an incredible cast and crew and creative team that made going to work every day feel like family. So I really grew up while I was filming that show.
That's such a cool thing to tie to that experience. You'll never forget that.
Never.
That's amazing. And Lisa wants to know, what were some of your favorite memories from the show?
I could write a book series full of memories. I mean, truly, everybody says this about every TV show. Oh, we're such a family, this, that, and the other. But we truly are. And I feel as though I have a family of big brothers that took care of me and kind of raised me in a sense and corrupted me just the right amount during the process. But just the number of memories that we made as a cast both on and off set, are something that I'll carry with me forever. You know, our last day of filming was so indicative of that. We had this big wedding scene in the last episode where pretty much every character makes an appearance, so kind of everybody was there, even if they hadn't been on the show for a while, and a lot of our writers came up, and we had a huge assembly of people. And as soon as we were done shooting, we had our wrap party in the studio, and it sort of felt like the senior class had taken over the high school for the day. Everybody was, you know, grabbing bottles of champagne and running into different sets and hanging out, and everybody stayed all night. We wrapped it maybe just after midnight, and I didn't leave the studio till 7 a.m.
Wow.
And we just kind of celebrated and gave the show its proper send-off as a family, and that was just the best way to sort of end it all.
And it shows when people watch the show and they're commenting this, that they could tell you guys are close. And I had Dom Sherwood came on the show, and he said the same thing. He's like, I love Kat, they're family, she's my girl. Like, you could tell you guys are really close.
Yeah, no, I knew Dom before the show as well. So the fact that, you know, we got to go through this whole process together, and having somebody that the ice was already broken with, that I was able to share that journey with, it was so special.
Did he get to watch your audition?
I actually did chemistry tests with Dom because he was and I'll never forget, I'd never heard Dom do an American accent before, and he didn't tell me he was going to do an American accent. So when he started the scene, I was kind of thrown by it, and thank goodness it was a scene where I was supposed to be a little befuddled. But yeah, we got to chemistry test together, which I think was such a gift for me, because the ice was already broken, and I could be so comfortable and just play and have that inherent trust already when you know, for a scene partner.
Yeah, that's a special thing for sure. This show, I mean, the fandom is amazing, and yes, there's the book series, which we all know about, but I would argue it's up to you guys in the cast to keep people interested and coming back for more, and you did that in such a big way. So what is it about this show, do you think, made such quick fandom happen in a span of years?
Well, something that I give the fandom such credit for is the fact that they've taken their community beyond the show, beyond the characters, and beyond any of us. And it's about each other, and they're there to support each other. And, you know, the show inherently, the message of Shadowhunters in the end is that love is stronger than anything, and love will make you stronger. And no matter whether you have angelic blood or demonic blood or whatever you are, whoever you are, whatever you were born as, it's the choices that you make that determine whether or not you're a hero. And it's the people that love you and the people you love that will carry you through all of the hardships along that journey. And I think the fandom really took to that, and that's sort of what people attach to in the show. That's what all of us as actors attach to in playing these characters. And that message is something that really speaks to the world even now.
Yeah, more than ever now. I've seen a lot of people saying they've been streaming it and watching it during quarantine, which is awesome.
It's so great, and so many people are discovering the show that have never watched it before. And it's I love watching people go through the journey of seeing the show, and I've tuned into a couple of the fan group rewatches as well, and it's just so fun to relive those memories.
Oh, I bet. And I give you guys so much credit because so much happens in the course of one episode, let alone an entire season, right? And you guys are putting in the work, and especially you now. I think I read that you ended up doing a lot of your own stunts, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that is so cool, and that's a lot of work in itself. So what would you say was one of your most challenging scenes to film? And then on the flip side, what was kind of one of the most like warm and fuzzy and gratifying scenes to film? Or maybe it's both.
It actually really is one and the same. Well, I can talk about two if you like.
Yes.
But the one that was probably the most difficult, but to this day one of my favorites, was in our finale of season 2. We tackled one of the biggest pinnacles of one of the books, where it's this big battle between, you know, myself and Alan Van Sprang, who played my father, and Dom Sherwood. And the three of us had, you know, there was a fight scene, and Dom and I were crying for most of it, and just all of the ups and downs. And of course it happened to pour rain that day, and so we were supposed to be fighting on grass, which then turned to mud, so I was just covered from head to toe. Dom was laying in wet mud, I was sitting in it all day long. But I thank our crew so much, and our stunt choreographers and everyone involved in that episode, because they created a space for us where we were able to just lock into these characters that we had been building up to, and this moment that we'd been building up to for 2 seasons. And it's that little bit of magic that only happens occasionally on a set where you are fully in it. And we spent all night, 2 nights, filming this scene. And it was one of my favorite scenes in the book as well. It just turned out so wonderfully. And it's that little bit of magic that gets captured when you really have become a cohesive unit. And the stunt coordinators are the whole reason that I was able to do my own stunts and my own fighting. When I started this job, I didn't know how to throw a punch. I didn't know how to hold a sword. I didn't know anything. And they trained me, and Dom as well, actually, but they trained us 3 to 5 times a week. We were in the stunt room with them, and they took the time out of their schedule to work with us to the point where we were able to do the majority of our own stunts and fighting.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. But also, you probably were interested in doing that, right? Like, you were, I mean, it seems like you were in it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the physicality of a character in that sense, and the way they fight is such a huge part of it. And that's something that our stunt coordinator, Darren McGuire, really, really took to heart, which I give him so much credit and all the accolades for, because that's why our fights were so special. The way that every creature moved was different. The way that every character fought was specific to who they are as a being. And every fight was a story. It was almost like a ballet in that sense, in that he really thought through the motivations of the characters and what was going on in the story when he was creating the journey of the fight. So it was a story within a story within a story, and it made everything mean so much more.
Yeah, and I think you're giving a new perspective for people to go back and rewatch, because if you look at it like that, it's so much more complex than just what you see, right?
Exactly.
That is so cool. And the show touches on many important topics too, like race relations and sexuality, and that's just touching the surface, right? It goes much deeper than that as well. And I think that's so cool that you guys were able to put out messages to a really large youth following that they don't always get to see topics like that being discussed. So as a member of the cast, what did it mean to you to be able to be part of that messaging to everybody?
It meant the world to me. I mean, I've watched so many of my friends and family struggle with all of those topics and all of those they're growing up and trying to figure out their place in the world and where they fit and who they are and finding how to follow their heart in a world that isn't always open to it. And the fact that we were able to show so many different aspects and so many different relationships. I mean, the fact that our most beloved ship is an 800-year-old bisexual warlock with a 20-something Shadowhunter, it's amazing. And the fact that, it's their love story was told with such nuance and such depth. And I give Matt and Harry and the writers so much credit for that. I watched them for years work so hard and discuss and really think it through to try and create the most authentic version of that story that they could. And that's what made it so special. And we all did that in our own way, but it's a story that's so important to so many people, and that's why I love going to do these Comic-Cons, because I get a chance to really connect with the Shadow fam and to talk to them and hear their stories and all of the amazing things that they've done, and that our story has been just a tiny part of their own stories, and it's really, really special to me.
So I have to ask, would you ever be open to reprising your role in Shadowhunters?
I would love nothing more. I mean, truly, there's so much more we wanted to do with the show and so many things we were planning. And we all are still in touch and, COVID aside, usually see each other on a regular basis. And I would love nothing more than to get the family back together again and do some sort of reunion, whether it's next year or in 5 years or 10 years or 20. I'm in. If you need Clary Frey, I'm here.